Ever feel like your brain's a web browser with 20 tabs open, constantly switching between thoughts? You start one task, get sidetracked by another, and then, well, totally forget what you were doing in the first place? We've all been there. But what if this is more than just being scatterbrained? What if it's ADHD? ADHD stands for Attention Deficit/Hyperactivity Disorder. It's a neurodevelopmental condition that affects both children and adults, and it's much more complex than most people realize. When someone has ADHD, their brain works a little differently, especially when it comes to things like paying attention, staying organized, and controlling impulses. This isn't about laziness or a lack of willpower, it's about how the brain is wired. Many people think ADHD is just about being fidgety or forgetful, but that's only part of the story. It can show up in so many different ways, like struggling to finish tasks, losing track of time, or feeling restless even when you're trying to relax. ADHD is really about how your brain manages attention, focus, and impulses. For some, it means their thoughts are constantly jumping from one thing to another. For others, it's hard to get started on things or to keep up with daily routines. And honestly, ADHD is more common than you might think. It affects people of all ages, backgrounds, and walks of life. Understanding ADHD is crucial because it helps break down the stigma and opens the door to support and solutions. Why does this matter? Because ADHD impacts millions of lives every single day. Children trying to keep up in school, adults juggling work and family, and parents supporting their kids through challenges. It can affect how someone does in school, their performance at work, their relationships with friends and family, and even their self-esteem. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming or isolating. But here's the good news. Knowledge is power. The more we learn about ADHD, the better we can support ourselves and others. When we truly understand ADHD, we can find practical ways to manage it, build on strengths, and most importantly, help everyone affected by it to not just get by, but to really thrive and live fulfilling lives. Let me tell you a story. The other day, I'm rushing out the door, late for a meeting, as usual. I pat my pockets, no keys. I check the counter, the table, the couch cushions, nothing. Panic sets in. Finally, I find them, in the refrigerator. Don't ask me how they got there. So, how do you know if what you're experiencing is actually ADHD, or if it's just the normal ups and downs of everyday life? It's a question that many people ask themselves, especially when they find it hard to focus, forget things, or feel overwhelmed by daily tasks. Life can be hectic, and everyone has moments of distraction or forgetfulness. But when do these moments cross the line into something more? ADHD symptoms can look very different from person to person. There's no single way that ADHD looks, and it doesn't matter how old you are, your background, or your lifestyle. Some people might be super energetic, while others are more daydreamy or easily distracted. It's important to remember that ADHD isn't just about being hyper or unfocused. It's a complex condition that affects people in unique ways. Some common signs include trouble focusing, like zoning out during conversations, missing important details, or struggling to follow instructions, even when you're trying your best. You might find your mind wandering during meetings, or realize you've missed half of what someone just said. In school or at work, it can feel like your attention just slips away, no matter how hard you try to stay engaged. Another sign is having difficulty completing tasks. Maybe you start projects with enthusiasm but lose steam quickly, or your to-do list just keeps growing. Hyperactivity can show up as feeling restless, like you always need to be moving or doing something, even if you're supposed to be sitting still. Fidgeting, talking a lot, or interrupting others are also common. Impulsivity might mean acting without thinking, blurting things out, or making quick decisions you later regret. These behaviors can affect relationships, work, and self-esteem. But remember, everyone does these things sometimes. What matters is how often they happen and how much they impact your life. Don't jump to conclusions or self-diagnose. If these patterns sound familiar and are causing problems in your daily life, it's a good idea to talk to a professional. A mental health expert can help you figure out what's really going on. They'll listen to your experiences, ask questions, and help determine if what you're dealing with is ADHD or something else entirely. Sometimes, other conditions or life stressors can look a lot like ADHD, so it's important to get a thorough evaluation. Professionals will look at your personal history, your current symptoms, and how they affect your daily life. They might ask about your childhood, your work, your relationships, and your habits. They'll also rule out other possibilities, like anxiety, depression, or even just the effects of a busy lifestyle. Getting the right diagnosis is the first step toward finding strategies that work for you and improving your quality of life. There are so many myths and misunderstandings floating around about ADHD, and it's time to set the record straight. Let's break down some of the most common misconceptions and get to the real facts about what ADHD actually is and isn't. First up, a big myth. ADHD is just a childhood disorder, something kids grow out of as they get older. You might picture a restless child in a classroom, unable to sit still or pay attention, but that's only part of the story. The truth is, ADHD doesn't magically disappear with age. In fact, for many people, the symptoms continue well into adulthood, often showing up in new ways, like trouble staying organized at work, forgetfulness, or difficulty managing time and responsibilities. Many adults don't even realize they have ADHD until later in life, when challenges at work or in relationships prompt them to seek help. Getting a diagnosis as an adult can be a huge relief, providing answers and opening the door to support. Another common myth is that people with ADHD are just lazy, unmotivated, or not very smart. This stereotype is not only untrue, but it's also really harmful and can make people feel misunderstood or judged. In reality, ADHD has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence or capability. People with ADHD can be incredibly creative, driven, and successful in all kinds of fields, from science and art to business and education. ADHD is actually a brain-based difference that affects how people pay attention, manage impulses, and stay focused. It's about how the brain is wired, not about how hard someone tries. And here's another myth. Medication is the only way to manage ADHD. While medication can be helpful for some, it's definitely not the only option, and it's not right for everyone. The truth is, treatment for ADHD is highly individualized. It might include therapy, lifestyle changes like exercise and nutrition, building strong support systems, learning new coping strategies, and for some, medication. The most important thing is finding what works best for each person, because everyone's journey with ADHD is unique. Do any of these signs resonate with you? Have you struggled with focus or attention? Share your experiences. Your story could help someone else feel seen and understood. Remember, you're not alone in this. If you think you or someone you know might have ADHD, don't hesitate to seek professional help. A therapist, counselor, or doctor can provide an accurate diagnosis and discuss treatment options. Getting help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It's about taking charge of your well-being and seeking the support you deserve. Here's what we've learned. ADHD is a real condition. It's more common than you think, and it's treatable. It's not a character flaw or a sign of laziness. With the right support and understanding, individuals with ADHD can thrive in all areas of life. Mental health matters. Let's keep the conversation going. Share this information with your friends, family, and on social media. Together, we can break down stigma and support those who are struggling.